So welcome to today's discussion. My name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at BoldPM, and today's topic is the State of Product Management 2020. My co-speaker today is Steve Johnson, who is also Chief Product Officer at Under10 Consulting. Steve, how are you doing this morning?
I'm super, thanks.
All right.
I'm Chief Product Officer and all other departments.
Yeah, me too, including janitorial services.
But staff meetings go on and on and on.
Yes. So before we actually get our conversation started, just want to do some housekeeping items. Please be courteous. If you're in a noisy environment, please mute yourselves. So we're asking all of you to mute yourselves. You have the ability to unmute and also share your webcam. That's optional. But if you want to, as we get started, we're asking everybody to mute yourselves, and you can either turn your webcam on and off. If you want to keep it on and give us visual cues, that's fine. We'll be monitoring both the tiles, but also the chat line, and that's how you can submit any comments or any questions. If you encounter any audio issues, be sure to refresh your browser, and if you need to drop off, you can come back in using exactly the same link that you used to join, or you can dial in as well. You got the dial-in information as well. And you can submit questions anytime throughout, even right now, all the way until the end, because we will try to accommodate based on the content and some of the questions we already got ahead of time. And also, we're recording today's discussion from beginning to end, so you'll be getting a link where you can actually view the video playback after the live session. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And I want to just briefly introduce myself once again. My name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at BoldPM, and it is a consulting firm, my consulting firm, that does training, coaching, and also a lot of consulting work with organizations that need help in building high-performing product teams so they can actually quickly turn ideas into valuable products. Steve, can you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, gosh, you just took my company. My book name there. Yeah, that's what I do, turn ideas into products. Yes, I've been doing working with product management teams since the 90s, first with Pragmatic, now with Under10, and our focus is on guided application. Doing the work, getting the work done, not just standing in front of a room and talking. So that's what I do at Under10.
Great. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the questions that we got from some of you that are participating ahead of time. You can also type in additional questions using the chat line. And the chat line, you can submit your questions directly to us. Both Steve and I have access to that, to the chat line, so we'll be monitoring that. And we'll be discussing in this order. We're going to start with identifying the trends and opportunities within product management. What is working today within organizations based on discussions that both Steve and I have had with clients that do have product management teams. Also, we're going to talk about what isn't working today, which is the challenges. And we're going to talk about a little bit into the future of product management and then discuss some of the key takeaways. So let's go ahead and get started. So with this role, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, if you can type in your chat, your best response to this, which role is ranked higher in US, and disregard the previous one because that's not the right answer. It's a little hint. But let us know which of these roles you believe is ranked higher in US today. And I guess that also includes North America, because it includes US and Canada as well, which both countries have lots of product managers across organizations. So type in your answer in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. And I'm seeing some people saying development management. Some people are saying product management. And you just go ahead and type in your answer. And Steve, what are you seeing right now? When you're talking to customers, what do they value most when they do have all of these roles? Do all of the clients that you're working with today have these roles implemented within their organizations?
A lot of the teams that I'm working with today, I'd say most of the teams that I'm working with today know that product management's important, but they don't have it, or and I think we'll talk a little bit about roles in a moment, but they've got a lot of product manager titles who are doing development.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a lot of product manager titles who are doing UX design, but they don't have a lot of product people. And executives are starting to realize it.
Yep.
Right. So they're saying, hey, Steve, my guys don't have any formal training. They're doing a lot of things, but they're not doing the right things. Can you come in and work with my team and help them become product people?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's exactly very similar to the real answer is product management is ranked highest now in North America. That includes US and Canada. Now, how can that be? Well, let's talk about this. Fortune magazine publishes this list every year, and this is the latest one as of May of 2020, the most admired companies, the top 10 most admired companies. And they usually publish a list that is the top 100. So you can actually find it, and you'll see the top 100. These are the top 10. The common denominator of top 10, and I've been tracking this list year after year for the last 10 years, they have one common denominator, two things in common. They're usually number one or number two in their industry, regardless of what they do. And all of them have product management in place. And if you see companies like Salesforce, right? Companies that scale very quickly, that within, let's say, 7 years or less, they go from startup to being a global brand. That's Salesforce. And the common denominator is all of the ones that start with a product manager as a co-founder, they usually will find ways of scaling, growing faster than their competition. And scaling means it's not just growth, right? Scaling means that you can acquire lots of more customers, 30, 40 times more customers with only incremental changes to your cost structure. Which means that if you can acquire 30 times more with just a little incremental higher cost structure, those companies are more profitable from the very beginning. And that's what drives adoption and scalability within companies.
So yeah, I think this list is pretty interesting too. I mean, a lot of people have said Steve Jobs was either, the consummate salesman or a good product manager. And we also know that, Jeff Bezos from Amazon started life as a product manager. So you got to look at that and go, that worked out pretty well. But in the case of Apple, it was a product guy and a nerd. If it weren't for Wozniak, there would be no Apple.
Yep.
And he took kind of a back seat. In the case of Walt Disney, Disney was the face, but Roy Disney did all the product work. Yep. He's the one that built the business while Walt dealt with the art.
And it was the same thing for Bill Gates as well. I think it was the same way for Bill Gates, because Bill Gates was the co-founder of Microsoft, but I think his co-founder was the actual product manager within the organization, basically doing he was the Steve Wozniak within Microsoft, and both companies got started the same year, right? Today, as I see, together, both Apple and Microsoft, how did they start and grow so quickly? They actually invented what we are now calling a consumer product, which is the personal computer. That's what was achieved between the two companies. So in the original category, when it was a brand new invention, two companies are now leaders because they actually invented together what is today the modern personal computer.
Cool.
And then other devices that followed. So this is kind of interesting to see that, the common denominator of these two things, number one, is they had a product manager from the very beginning, and then they began with more profitable business models, and they just found a way of cost reduce, but still continue to gain value, and then be able to scale and support and keep customers and acquire customers and just keep them, even though their cost structures were only incrementally growing, not growing along with the customer base. And that's where I think most companies just get stuck in the middle, because they can grow, and growth means that more customers, higher cost structures, more customers, even higher cost structures. And it's very easy to grow a company as long as you have buyers. It's very hard to scale a company. And this is what product management does for companies that implement the role the right way. That's kind of like the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve, we also talked about trends and opportunities. So these are things that are currently working. Can you talk to some of these things that you've seen, pretty quickly, just
Well,
kind of go over
yeah.
the,
I found, again, at Pragmatic and now in my coaching work, uh, golly, the roles and responsibilities do vary widely. I will talk to somebody and say, a product manager does X, and they'll say, oh, no, no, no. At our company, the product marketing manager does that. And I'll talk about product marketing manager does Y, and they'll say, oh, no, 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 we have a program manager for that. And it's just, so one of the first things I find that I end up doing, and for those of you who are, trying to reboot product management in your organization, starting off with a roles and responsibilities assessment, doing a RACI of, who's responsible for these things, who approves, and so forth. It's just amazing how many times I'm talking about product management and other people are saying, no, 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 that's product marketing for us, or that's program management or something else. And now I'm seeing it all start again. Well, let me go back. I mean, when Agile happened, and I know I'm getting ahead of you, Hector. When Agile happened, suddenly everybody became product owners.
Mhm.
And product owner is a lovely role, but it's a role of product management as defined by development, by the development process, right? Now, I think the big trend of 2019, 2020 is this focus on product-led growth that is defining the role yet again. That it's
Yes.
more about a promotional play, and brilliantly, right? I mean, building promotion into the product, getting the product to do the heavy lifting on selling.
Mhm.
So that's one trend I'm seeing very much the last couple of years is product-led. The other one I'm seeing is more and more people talking to me about playbooks. We need to standardize the way we operate our products, the same way we've done with sales ops and marketing ops and dev ops. And I actually heard UX ops the other day, which really surprised me. And I've got an article about this on my website about product ops. In the articles area, it's one of the top ones. And even that is something that people are just now getting their arms around. Some companies are saying, well, product operations is the same thing as project management. It's support for the product managers, but it's different than that. It's standardization. It's getting clarity on roles and responsibilities. It's giving access to data sets and analyst reports and coaching them through a lot of the of research and faster onboarding, and a bunch of that is written about up on my website. And what's really disturbing to me, and some of you have heard me rant about this and before, is with the adoption of Agile, product managers are being pulled ever more into a technical only role, doing that strategic role I like to refer to as reading aloud from Jira. And product marketing is stepping in to fill the strategic void.
Yeah.
I went
And I would
to,
say that this goes back to the very top right. If you don't have clarity on the roles and responsibilities, that is an issue, right? And from there, it just goes haywire because nobody. You can have a different title: analyst, UX, person, a Scrum master, and product owner, and no clarity in the roles. That is the wrong approach. And I think that it kind of leading this into the common challenges of what isn't working, it goes back to what we talked about, that very few people within organizations understand the role of product management. And then they end up trying to backfill with whatever they have until they fail, until they try and fail, right? They call it, oh, we have had project management for a long time, or we have program managers that do that role that is supposed to be talking to the sponsors or the customers. That's not product marketing, right? Program management is not product marketing. Just like project management is not product management. And product ownership is not product management. These are all different specialties, functions, and that work together as a product team.
Mm-hmm.
But what the product manager does, there's a reason why they're actually leading product teams, cross-functional teams. And yes, you can have a product owner working alongside a product manager, maybe even project and program managers. And all these companies that we talked about earlier, the top 10 most admired companies, they have hundreds of all of these different management roles, not
And
just
clarity
product.
on the role.
And they have clarity on the role, which means they're standard operating procedures from the HR. They know the difference between a project management,
Mm-hmm.
a program management, a product marketing manager, and a product manager, because those
Mm-hmm.
roles are all existing in that company. And that
Yeah.
includes not just Facebook, Amazon, Salesforce. It includes all of these top 10 most admired companies. Why? Because they continue to make sure that the roles and responsibilities and their standard operating procedures are updated ongoing as the roles continue to evolve and grow in numbers. And
And
that
I've
is,
had this conversation with Steve and Sorella and Gary and John uh, uh, about this thing I call the purple squirrel. Executives or HR departments are saying we're looking for this perfect person, but the most important thing is they have to have decades of experience in our domain. And I remember vividly having a conversation with a couple of you on why isn't expertise in product management something that shows up in these job postings?
mhm.
Instead, it's, hey, do you have an MBA? Which means you have this wonderful theoretical knowledge that has no application in the real world. Oh, we need you to be a lawyer who's also been a developer and also been a UX designer and lives within 5 minutes of the office and they build these implausible job postings that are not at all grounded in reality. And as I was talking with you about before we started, I've had a number of roles and responsibilities labs that I run where the HR people come in and they're like, we want to know what you people are supposed to do as well, because we know our job postings are disconnected from the reality of the job.
I agreed. So here's my take on the evolution of product management, because it goes with if you understand the history of product management, you know why there's so much confusion about the role. Okay, the role was first implemented, that was kind of like product management, was brand management, and that was 1930s when this was invented by Procter and Gamble. Why? Because in the Procter and Gamble world, and anyone who's a Procter and Gamble, brands are products, right? Food and beverage, products are brands, brands are products, and you have a collection of brands within just one product category. Meaning toothpaste, you might have multiple things. Laundry detergent, multiple brands, all owned by the same vendor. Brand management started with Procter and Gamble. It wasn't until the 40s, right, early 40s, when Silicon Valley companies, those companies included HP, Intel, AT&T, IBM, Digital Equipment, a few others that were all in Silicon Valley, as Silicon Valley was just getting started. They actually implemented the same role as product management. And that's what started. And from there, so these were mostly high-tech companies at the time. Then it was then later on adopted by automotive manufacturers, then other types of manufacturers. So it's not widely deployed across manufacturers of all shapes and sizes. And then it wasn't until 1990s when software became bigger than everything else was tangible, like hardware, firmware, right? Now software was getting more complex. This is what started with Scrum and XP and other agile methodologies before there was an agile manifesto that
And I know I'm
implemented
interrupting your flow here, but the Agile Manifesto was created in 2001, and what was it, Park City, Utah, and it was all those guys. It's the Scrum guys and the XP guys, and all the thought leaders of, get ready for it, development methodologies. Crystal, DSDM, and they in the case of product owner, they intentionally did not use the word product manager.
Correct.
Because they didn't want to confuse this role with all of the confusion that went along with the product manager title. And unfortunately, I think they added confusion. So now, what's the difference between a product manager and a product owner?
And most people, to me, that's like the beginning of the end, when they want their product managers to also do the product ownership and also do the project management, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those things into one person.
Yeah,
Like,
and I've
you're
seen,
not going to be very
I've seen
effective.
teams where product manager, product owner smashed together works, and I've seen them where they're separated out. But I will say, when I was researching my book, I talked to 100 leaders in product, and the most common scenario of success was when they separated them. That product manager was a strategic business role that worked with marketing and leadership and sales, and while the product owner worked primarily with development and support, which ties nicely to what we used to call a technical product manager as opposed to a strategic product manager.
Yep.
But anyway, I interrupted your flow there. You talked about Scrum, et cetera, and then Agile, and now, oh gosh, we got all Lean back here a decade ago.
That's right. That's right. And now we have, 10 years later, what do we have? A lot of tech startups, software startups, digital products. These are all mostly mobile applications, or even anything that has multiple types of cloud-based applications, software that may include, some widget like, Ring for the video doorbell play that you have, right? That are smart.
And I may be misinterpreting Lean Startup. I mean, I think there's a lot of goodness in it, but it seems the way it's been implemented is build cool shit, see if anybody likes it, pivot.
That's
and
correct.
Product management says find a problem, see if we're qualified to solve it and can make a business out of it, and then start building. And certainly, any sort of product management training I've done is always got validation and learning throughout every step. The only complaint I really have with this particular chart you're sharing is I think the vertical is wrong. I think the vertical is not business value. I think the vertical is confusion about the role. Because in 1931, the role was super, super clear. And
actually,
now in 2020, it's like God only knows. I mean, if you've got product in your name, you must be, reading, you must be in development. I don't know.
Yeah.
Super confusing.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of confusion. And I think the confusion comes because most people think, what is a product? Well, they think that a product will just, sell itself and market itself, and that they'll, as long as they talk to a few customers and they see a need, and they don't separate the needs from the wants from the delighters, right? And, that's what happens, is that you end up with a lot of different things that you build just because you can, and just because you talk to a few customers and they're telling you, oh yeah, we want this, we want this, we want this, or we need this, and no one does really the testing to see, do you really need it? Do you want it? Or would you be, if it's more of a dream comes true, like a wow, you want a wow factor, you want a lovable product, you want to have not just to meet the needs, but also have a lot of wow factor in it, right? And that's what you want to do.
And, I've said many, many, many times, I talked to a guy is not a completed research study.
That's right.
Right. So often it seems like we make entire business decisions because I talked to a guy, and we may or may not have been drunk at a bar at the time. Right. But just listening to one sales guy or an executive, and I love executives, but, God spoke to me a dream is not a completed research study either. Right.
Yeah.
And what I talk about with my teams is, product management is taking all of these things into account. The organization we work in, the business goals that we're striving for, the market that we're serving, and all of that. But product management is about scalability and repeatability. Can we do it? Can we do it right? And can we do it over and over again? I think, and I love salespeople, as everybody knows, but salespeople say, let's just get it done. Let's do it. Let's do it. once. And product managers and developers say, no, let's not do it once. Let's do it many, many, many times.
And the other thing is that I think, lack of process is because most people don't have the right framework to begin with, right? It's saying, what are we going to do for, ideation piece, and how often, and who's involved, how many people, and most of the time, if you ask most product managers, where do you spend the majority of your time? Guess where they're at? They're working with development, getting towards an alpha product, something that is brand new, not yet in market. Or they're also doing some of the beta programs, right? So they're actually doing, qualifying some recruiting, actually doing some beta testing, by customers on products, or they're launching products, right? They're spending the majority of the time in these three phases, and no one or very few people at all here, and very few people on the back end figuring out what products do we, how do we prune our product portfolio? Because pruning is what you need to do once you start. If you really want to scale, you just don't add another SKU on top of thousands of SKUs that you have in market, right? You need to figure out which ones you're going to, remove as you are adding more, and you only maintain your core. You maintain your core customer base by pruning over time and only keeping the best-selling products, and that's ongoing. What you do as you're trying to scale the business with new products that you put in the market. You don't just put out product, thinking that, adding more product will give you more revenue, because it also gives you more higher cost structures. And you're stuck in the trying to grow mode rather than trying to scale your business. So scaling the business is what you want to do, and scaling requires pruning as you are adding more products into your portfolio over time. You can't do one without the other. You've got to do both. And this is where I think most organizations spend their time, where the majority of people in product management start to spend time in the develop, qualify, launch, and they're being told, just say, yeah, don't even worry about the business case. Just go ahead and do it, because we know there's a market. Our top account manager is telling us that there's a market.
Yeah, I
Right?
think all of us have had that. I know at least twice in my career I trusted that. Our salespeople are great. They can sell anything. They've told us, we've talked to ones of people who want this thing, and off I go building. But then I start looking at the reality. Can I find, 50 people who think this is a good idea? And so, usually it comes back, the sales says, we can only sell this if we include it for free in part of a bundle. And I'm like, well, I'm being paid a commission on sales. So zero loss leader doesn't really attract me, right?
Yep. Exactly.
And I think, the other aspect that we're seeing in 2020, I know you're trying to wrap up, but, with COVID, we've all had to go remote. And I think we're really finding huge inefficiencies in the way that we're doing our work that become obvious when we are doing it through Zoom, as opposed to, in meetings, we used to have like donuts and pizza and stuff like that. And now we're having to, I think all of us are getting more structured in the way we're having our meetings. We're having repeatable meetings, or we're having agenda-based meetings, and we're getting smarter about the way we do it. And I think that, I hope certainly some of the teams that I've worked with are saying they're also getting clarity on roles and responsibilities just from formalizing these meetings. So there's goodness for some organizations in even in the COVID situation.
And I think you have a great point as well, because I think that that's been also an ongoing struggle. It actually has exposed issues that are within companies in the way that they have that have not figured out how to actually implement the role of product management the right way. And I think that's
Absolutely.
showing it's those kinds of things are even more exposed now as everybody is working from home. So I agree, completely agree.
Cool.
Now, we also have started, both Steve and I have started, collaborating on this BoldPM Academy. And BoldPM Academy is basically a series of live online workshops for modern product professionals who really want to get better at what you do. These are for those of you who believe in continuous learning and you love product management, you want to get into product management, or you're just brand new to product management and you want to become great at leading cross-functional teams within your company. So this is our offering. We're starting with this one first workshop, which is growth product management. And that's starting soon, later this month. But we also have another one that we're doing together, which is the 3 roles of product management. For more information on this, we're going to be sending you information as to where you can actually find out more, how you can enroll. And these are pretty quick to enroll because they're all accessible through Eventbrite, and you can sign up for them as based on your need. And anything else that you have as we're closing, Steve, on your slide?
No, I'm trying to be sensitive to everybody's time. So I'll let you scoot, but I hope anybody, if you'd like to stay in touch with me or Hector, certainly send me an email. Thank you for those of you who participated in the group chat. There was some stuff going on, and well, there was some private stuff going on in there as well.
Yes.
And I hope to see you at one of our future discussions.
Yes, and thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, audience, for being here. And we'll be announcing also future Ask Me Anything sessions that we're going to be doing. I'll also send you information, and we'll also send you a link where you can watch the video playback from today's session. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.